YouTube. Today in the Naughty Librarian, I am bringing you another Unhaul. So now you've seen part 2 of my bookshelf tour, and this is after I cleaned it out. So this is part 2 of my Unhaul series of just books I have come to terms with don't need to be on my shelves, or I'm not going to read, or all kinds of reasons. These are just books that need to leave my shelves. They are going to be donated. First up, I have Dark Lover by Brenda Joyce. This is part of the Masters of Time series. I guess it's it's a paranormal romance. They're time travelers, and I'm just not into time travel. I don't care how smuttily delightful it is. I'm not into time travel. I'm just never gonna read it, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Also leaving is Into the Flame by Christina Dodd. This is kind of a shifter romance. He has a cougar on the cover, so I assume he turns into some type of mountain lion and has smutty delights with some lady, I guess. I don't know. I'm not into it. Like, I want to be, but I'm not. Like, that's kind of the point of this video. These are books like I genuinely thought I was going to like and then just didn't, so they're going to leave. Okay, so remember how I talked about smut fairies a while ago? Occasionally, I find one of those trashy harlequins on my shelf, and I don't know where they come from. I found the source! These are all smut fairy books, like all trashy harlequins. I still don't really remember getting them. I think what happened was I went to a library book sale with my boyfriend, and they had like a bunch of these like in the free bin, and I think that we thought they were funny, so we grabbed them. And then they were on my shelf, and then they've been like separated somehow over time. So the scientific explanation for smut fairies is that. The fake reason is that I found the smut fairies hoard and I'm getting rid of them. So I might have like earned ire from smut fairies. We'll find out. Also leaving my shelf is Your Planet or Mine by Susan Grant. Look how tacky that is. Like, legitimately. I don't know why I have this. I think I definitely got it at a library book sale. But it looks like a bad, like, indie theater poster. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's a 50-seat house, and like, these are your friends doing this place, you go, even though you don't really want to see it. It looks like that as a book, and I'm just 0% interested. Nope, 0%. It's a bad cover. I know, don't judge a book by its cover, but like, that's a bad cover. I'm also going to get rid of Crimson Moon by Rebecca York, and mainly because I don't know why I have it. It's just been on my shelf. Definitely got it at a library book sale. I think I just got it because it looked kind of paranormal-y and like there's a wolf on it. It's like generic like werewolf porn, which I enjoy, but I'm just like, Like, there's a lot of good werewolf porn that I can pick up. I don't need this one. Also leaving my shelf is Shadow and Ice by Gina Showalter. I made a rant review video about this one. I used to really, really love Gina Showalter. I still like a lot of her earlier works. This lately, me and her, like, her writing and my reading don't mesh. And this is a prime example of it, because this, I didn't even finish it. I read like 30% of it, and it was so god-awful that I had to stop because it was so bad, and I went on a rant about it. So, you know what? I've made peace with the fact that I'm never going to go back and try to finish it. I don't have time for that. I don't want to put myself through it. It just needs to leave. It needs to go. Because you know what? It is a new release and it's in excellent shape. So if someone gets this at a library book sale where I donate, they're going to be genuinely happy. So that's the only thing that's like saving the book for me, is that like it'll make someone else happy if they find it. I am also going to get rid of Steel in Sky by Ren Cummins. This is an indie book, and I got it at a random book thing I went to. I saw an event and I went. And I bought it because the author was there, and it sounded kind of cool, but it is steampunk, and like, I want to like steampunk, but like, I never do. It's always something like, ooh, it's gonna be cool, and then I'm like, ugh, I don't like steampunk. I am constantly reminded of the fact that I don't like it. So I have this book. It was kind of too expensive. It's a mass market, and I remember it was like 15 bucks for like a mass market. So I felt like a little cheated to start with. And it is signed. I met the author, and I'm just not going to read it. I'm not going to read it. Why is it on my shelf? I'm sad I invested the money. From that same event, I also got Never Surrender by Deanna Jewell. This is part of her, like, it's like a Native American inspired romance series. And it it's not necessarily bad. It's just I don't have time to pick it up. It's just not something that's going to happen. I also feel like it's not necessarily the romance that I like in particular. I feel like it's going to be a very particular type that's probably not something I'm into. So it's going to get donated. Someone else will find it and love it. It did win an award. It won the Marie M. Irvine Literary Excellence Award. So won something. Good for it. But yeah, I don't have time to read it. It's not gonna happen. From that same event, I have Alice by Kiri Callahan. And this is kind of a steampunky Alice in Wonderland story. And again, I got it. I was at the festival, picked it up. All these mass markets were like way too expensive for it needed to be. It was just too expensive. But I did want to read it at the time, and then I know I'm not going to. Also, it's signed, and I know she wrote randomly in it in certain places with like invisible ink, but like I'm never going to find it because it's invisible. So like, why am I keeping it? I just don't have time to read it. I'm just not going to. Also leaving my shelves is Midnight Omen by Marty Melville. This is kind of pirate-y. It's an adventure story. It's pirates. And I like pirates, but like I don't feel like I'm going to read it. Like I'm just like, this is the most I've read of it just looking through it right now. And I just don't feel like I'm going to read it. It could be pretty good. Like it's pirates, and I don't read a lot of books about pirates. It might be good actually, but like I've come to terms with myself that like there's so many books to read, and like I don't see myself picking it up. I'm also getting rid of Evernight by Claudia Gray. I got this at a library book sale just because Claudia Gray wrote this other series that I really liked. So I'm like, oh, more books by her. And this one is like private school vampires, and like I'm so over that. I'm so over private school vampires. Like no part of my body wants to read it. I'm sure like a few years ago, like I would have loved it. Like if I was a teen, oh my gosh, I would have been so into it. But like as an adult, no thank you. I am also getting rid of Fire Danger by Claire Davin. And I got this at the LA Times Festival Books. It was free. The author was there signing stuff. So I was like, well, if she's free and she's there, I'll get it. It is novella length. It's about like phoenixes. It's a romance. And I'm just like, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read it. I've come to terms with it. I got it for free. And I'm not going to read it. It needs to leave. I'm going to get rid of these. I didn't want to because one of them is signed, but realistically, I'm not going to read this series by Rochelle Mead. So I have The Glittering Court and I have Midnight Jewel. I do love Rochelle Mead. Like she wrote Vampire Academy series. She wrote the Bloodline series. I love those series. That's 12 books right there I've read by her. I've read a lot of Rochelle Mead books. I genuinely really, really like her writing. I like those books. They're like pulpy teen melodrama. Totally into it. These are also pulpy teen melodramas, but I don't see myself picking them up in the foreseeable future. Maybe someday I might, but like I don't see it happening anytime soon or probably ever. So they're just gonna go. They'll make someone else very happy. I'm also getting rid of this whole series by Josephine Angelini. So it's Witch's Pyre, Firewalker, and Trial by Fire. It is all like it's like a YA fantasy series, and I don't really remember even what it's about. It's just been on my shelf for a really long time. I met the author once, so that's why they've been on my shelf this long. And I don't see myself ever picking these up. At the time, they seemed kind of good. Like, maybe it's pretty good, maybe it's fun, or maybe it's like a genuinely cool, like, you know, story, but I just don't see it happening. So yeah, Witches, YA fantasy, could be good, who knows, but like, I'm not gonna read it. Also leaving my shelf is The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. This is a book I picked up, and I genuinely, really, really wanted to love it. And it's such a cool concept. It's kind of like a Buffy type story, but told from the perspective of the kids that have nothing to do with the Buffy story. So they live in this world where there are like crazy demons who are going to attack graduation, and like there's this one chosen one who must save the day, but we're not focusing on that character. That character's a background story to these normal kids living in this world. Super cool premise. I was so into it. I thought it was going to be hilarious and sarcastic, and it's not. It's not at all. It has so many opportunities to poke fun at those type of stories, and it doesn't. It's just kind of like a normal story with like paranormal stuff happening in the sidelines. So I don't think it was handled as well as it could have been, because it has a funny premise. It just wasn't funny. I'm also getting rid of The Dark Garden by Eden Bradley because I don't know why I have it. I got it at a library book sale for probably like 25 cents. It's really cheap. I think it's just like S&M romance type of thing. And I think I just got it because it looks smutty AF. I just got it surely for smut value. And yeah, I'm just not going to read it. I'm not. I need a little bit more substance than rather just random fucking. I need more substance in my stories. Poor Josephine Angelini. I'm getting rid of more of her books. I had 2 complete trilogies from her. There's also Starcrest, Dreamless, and Goddess. This is kind of like Greek gods based YA fantasy type story. I have the whole series, and I met her and they're signed, and I'm never going to read this. They have kind of pretty covers, so there is that. But it's just like YA Greek god fantasy nonsense. 0% going to read these. So this might be a controversial pick, but I'm going to get rid of To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. Yes, this is an odd looking book cover, because I got it at a library book sale and it did not have a book jacket, which was super weird. So I made my own book jacket. Nerd. I did read it and I just wasn't that impressed by it. I've read better books, frankly. Have you read anything by Maureen Gu? Very similar, but much better. So I've seen the same concepts done better in other books. And honestly, I think the movie was better than it too. It just wasn't like the book for me. I think perhaps if I was a teen, I might have liked it more. And I know that is a target audience, and I'm not the target audience for it. So I'm going to donate it. Some teen will find it and love it, because that is a target audience. It's very much not a book that crosses over into adult worlds. Also leaving my shelf is White Cat by Holly Black. I did read this. I wanted to love it because it's Holly Black and she has that kind of whimsical writing style that I love. I love Cruel Prince. I love Wicked King. I've read a lot of her books and I like them. So White Cat, I'm like, ooh, this is really cool. It's a family of con men. They like do curses like for a living. So it sounds really cool. And then it wasn't executed great. Like I thought it was very mediocre in the end. So yeah, it's just mediocre. It's got a dope cover though, but yeah, it's just a mediocre book I don't need to have on my shelf. Also leaving, I have books 1 and 2, like the omnibus bind-ups of Strangers in Paradise. So, the first 2 volumes. I have heard good things about it. It's a graphic novel series, and it's kind of just like real life. So it's these kids in college and their lives. And it seems kind of cool and fun. I've heard great things about it. But realistically, I'm just not going to read it. I know I'm not. Like, I want to, but like I'm not going to do it. Also leaving my shelves is Amber and Dusk by Lyra Celine. I got this in a book box, like a book subscription box thing. And I didn't really want to read this to start off with. It just kind of came in the box. So it's not a book I went out and bought because I wanted to read it. Just, I have it. And I mean, the cover's kind of okay. I like Lyra Celine, like that's a cool name. So there's that. But the contents of it, I don't know. It's just like a generic YA fantasy story with magic and stuff. And I'm just not into it. It's not my jam. It's not something I ever see myself picking up. Okay. So this last book, I know is going to be a controversial pick to get rid of, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to get rid of Legendary by Stephanie Garber. I got this before I read it because I met the author. I met Stephanie Garber. It's signed. So that's like something why I was keeping it on my shelf, because it is signed. But real talk, I read Caraval and like I liked it, but I don't ever see myself completing that series. 0% completing it. It was not like my favorite thing I ever read. Like I see how it's a lot of people's favorite book. Like I can see why it's very popular and people like it. It has a lot of things to offer. I'm just not the person who needs to offer it to. It's not really the book for me. So this is the sequel, Legendary. I don't see myself ever reading it. Like, I don't see myself ever continuing on with the Caraval series. I think I just need to part ways with it because I liked it, but I didn't love it. I'm kind of friend zone with it, I guess. I don't know. It was an okay series, and this is signed, so I'd want to keep it just for the sake of it being signed, but Whew, okay. It kind of feels good just getting shit off your shelves and being really cutthroat about it. Like straight up Purge edition. Like I was like being cutthroat about these shelves. What's gotta go? So yeah, it does feel good to just genuinely clear shit out and get rid of things, because I have a lot of books. Like most booktube people on here, it's very easy to get books. And I go to a lot of library book sales. I don't spend a lot of money on these. Like, a lot of these were from library book sales, so maybe I spent $10. Like, I'm losing $10 for all those books, except for the ones I bought because, like, I guilt buys, but that's another story for another time. By the time this goes up on BookTube, chances are all of these books will already have been donated. But just in case that's not the case, let me know in the comments down below, is there a book, like, you want to make a case for me keeping or picking up in the future? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon.